only place where you can learn the difference between a human being and being human. From being kind and understanding to being patient and actually listening to others. Everything you could possibly need to navigate life. I know. You're probably thinking, why do I need this? It's obvious. I do it already. Well, kinda. But I'm human after all. We all have flaws. If that was your response, then make sure to join us this Friday at 3 p.m. to see just how far you might be from actually being human. You will be surprised. We are women. We are brave, strong, capable, unique. We are women to women.
Good afternoon, South Africa, and we hope you have been enjoying your holiday. Today in South Africa, we celebrate Reconciliation Day. And that's the reason why we're bringing a very, very interesting topic, more for us to make an introspection, especially because year-end we tend to make amends with family members, to make amends with friends. We think about those who are important in our lives, and maybe they are no more around us. We have parted ways because of disagreements. Today we're talking about humans being human. It seems that we have lost humanity, something that we were created with by God to serve a purpose. But day by day, we see each other less compassionate, less forgiving, less helpful, because that essence of humanity is no longer present in many of us, though we are human beings. Tammy, would you explain the difference of humans being human or being not human?
Okay, so a human being, it's a person. As species, we are all human beings because we were created as people, and it's a species that is different from animals. So that is what a human being is. It's a person that is alive, that is breathing, that is different from an animal. However, being human, it's a characteristic that we have only as human beings. So we will explore a lot of them today, but it's a characteristic that we have that makes us human, that makes us have that humanity, which is something that other species do not have, that animals do not have. It's only unique to us as humans.
They live out of instincts, but they don't have the feelings, the emotions that we were created with by God. And I know you're already saying, but emotions lead us to mistakes. And we are going to go deep in this subject today because we want you to use your Reconciliation Day to really reconcile with yourself and with someone else if you realize along the way I lost a little bit of my humanity in that regard. Fact is, we always come with an excuse. We always say that we are not being this or that on account of a situation. What are some of our excuses?
I think it's really true, and it's interesting that we only use this excuse when it comes to defects within our humanity or our being human. We never see the good that someone has done or them being amazing and wonderful and say, oh, she's so lovely, she's great, she's human. We always bring it up when we have done something wrong and we need to make an excuse that, no, I did that because I'm human. Why are you expecting perfection? As if God would create something that should be bad, because, He's God and He makes everything good, He makes everything wonderful, and He creates it perfectly. And yet we have given ourselves an allowance to use the creation that we are as an excuse that, it should allow for the bad things. Yes, we are not perfect. However, we cannot be complacent within our defects, within the wrong things that we do, and account those things to being human, because that is actually not true. And it denies us an opportunity to learn and do differently next time.
So we would say that somehow people associating being human with an allowance to make mistakes, when as a matter of fact, God created us to be humans, to be compassionate, to have feelings, but he did not expect perfection from us.
And I also think of how people use it as a deflect mechanism, because whenever someone points out something that maybe I've erred in, I'm not doing well, I could do better in, I will always say, oh, but you need to be understanding. I'm just a human being. Like, I have my mistake, I have my shortcomings, I have my fallouts. And we see that so many times playing out, especially on the internet, on the news. Whenever someone does something, the immediate response is, but we are all humans, we all make mistakes. But what's funny is that it never serves for the next person. I've never heard anyone saying, oh no, Silmara did something, but you know what? She's human. As human beings, we all have our mistakes.
Understand her.
It's understandable. I get you. I know where you're coming from. No, we immediately attack. And because everybody is now using this excuse as society, she will then come in and say, hey, I'm also human, and bring out other people's shortcomings. So with time, as human beings, we have really lost this humanity whereby we lack an understanding, we lack development. As much as we say the world is moving ahead, however, when we look at ourselves and what we were created to be, we've actually gone backwards instead of moving forward in the terms of making things easy, making things more accessible. With that, we end up saying when it goes wrong, when something is not right, when something comes up, we say, oh, well, but I'm just a human being. So all of you have to be understanding. But when it's for someone else, we never use it. It's like, she was wrong, she's mean, she's this, she's that, she's that. But then when it has to be you, it's very easy for humans to immediately pick up, I think it's a security blanket, and they quickly put it on and they become invisible and expect everybody else to understand.
I was also thinking, when did we start to become less human with in our generation now? In the rush of time, when people, they only think about themselves, and they are going sometimes to the working place and they see someone in a need. The person maybe was not feeling well. The person quick think, I need to arrive there. At this time, I cannot help you. Someone else will come and help, and leave that person unattended. And the rush of the moment when you only think about yourself, Precious will find her way out. Don't worry, someone will come to her. But if God was showing to you that person in need, of course, there are many excuses that people they have in nowadays to think, what about if it's a trap? If someone just plot that moment, and it happens in Johannesburg sometimes when you are driving and someone hit the car on a purpose for you to stop.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to look around, but you need to consider, was that just a plot? Someone was trying to catch you, or that person really needs help? So being less human when you see a couple fighting on the streets, on a neighborhood, we spoke about it
Even
already.
about violence.
Yes, and of course, if you cannot, by your safety, to stop in that moment, what about you call the police? On your way going to the work, I pass by this place and I see someone needs help. And then instead you just do that kind of, someone will take care of it because I need to rush, I have time to arrive. And the conscience does not become guilty anymore nowadays. That is so strange. Because when we see someone on the streets, it's so funny how sometimes I go back home, and when I go to have my meal, I think about that person. And we have many excuses. What about if I give him money and he's going to use for drugs or something? But what about to buy a loaf of bread and care it with you and share the food instead of the money. So we have excuse to not do what is right. However, we don't cancel that excuse to make a way to help that person anyway and doing what is right, what is a human side that we have and God gave it to
And
us.
what's even worse is that now, instead of helping, what do? Take out the cell phone, record, and post it on social media, which is the most inhumane thing that a person can do. So instead of helping or instead of calling the police, what they do is they take out the cell phone. And you will see sometimes in the comments someone saying, but what if you put your cell phone down and help the person? But it doesn't ring to us anymore. Whatever happens, we just have to make sure people fight in a taxi. We make sure that we take out our cell phones and record and make fun of it. That's how much we have lost our humanity.
I think also another one is with mob justice. I understand that people think that we're protecting the
And
victim.
we see that often in
Yes.
downtown Johannesburg.
And us living in downtown, I think for me, it's inhumane. You know why? Because yes, that person did something wrong. They grabbed someone's possession or something. Yes, take that person, call the police, and have it sorted out. But today, I think the saddest thing is seeing someone that has no business to do with that situation, just walking in and beating that person up to a pulp.
trying to make justice with an injustice.
Yes, and you often hear others. I think it once happened when I was close by before I got married. And I remember hearing the comments of the people that were hitting the person, the perpetrator. And they were like, yeah, even me, I'm going to hit you for the day that my phone was stolen or my bag was taken and I couldn't get it back. But it's like thinking that what if that person loses their life at that moment? You've just committed murder. And then you'll hear them coming out and say, no, we were protecting ourselves, we were protecting our community. But that is actually not being human, because how about just maybe holding that person somewhere till the authorities come? Because we've even seen situations where when the authorities try to come, they can't even rescue that person. So in that moment, instantly, yes, the person got back their possession and they were the victim, but now we're victimizing that person as well by hitting them, killing them, and sometimes even making it worse, because in that, then you'll hear people say, oh no, they got themselves to this situation. But we don't really stop to find out and think that might be someone's son, that might be someone's brother, that might be someone's sister.
The line of thinking, it's someone's son, brother, sister, wife, it is part of being human. And that's what we detach it from.
Can I say, it's so interesting how in South Africa we have a famous line that's known all over the world, that umuntu ngabantu. And it has to do with humanity. And we speak about it, oh, Ubuntu this, Ubuntu, oh, Ubuntu. It's a South African thing that we are known for. And yet, in the past shows, when we talk about gender-based violence and, other shows, we always mentioned the violence and the statistics in our country, how high they are for the things that relate to the lack of humanity. So I'm just wondering that we have become so hardened so much that even the things that we are so proud to post on social media and say, oh, I'm South African, we are known for Ubuntu, we are known for this, we don't have those things within. And I'm just hoping that with today's show, we will be able to take steps to reconcile with ourselves where we may be lacking that humanity, where we have become cold and hardened, and actually start to truly live out this Ubuntu, because it doesn't make sense for us to be known for humanity and still be the most violent country in the world. It
Really?
doesn't make sense.
Something else that I noticed, I think that when we are in big cities, mega cities, in a big environment where we have a lot of people, we tend to be less humans.
And that's true. I think when, as you said, in the big cities, people are very cold. And I think God, having created us with this humanity within us, we have allowed the environment to actually harden us and change us and make us cold because, oh, I don't know my neighbor. In the homelands, all the Gogos, they know each other. They go to the same store. They know the store owner by name. They can send. I remember there's a pastor who worked in Lesotho, and they were saying that they send donkeys donkeys with a note and money, and the donkey will go to the store, and the storekeeper will put everything that they put in there, put the change, and the donkey. In Johannesburg, I'm telling you, when
Not
they
even the
see,
donkey would be found.
they won't find it. There's also another country that I don't remember.
Ethiopia.
They also have, like, when they have excess produce, they put them there outside. Like a farmer will put his excess produce outside, and people will just take and, give whatever the amount. There's no one mending the store, not here in Johannesburg or in any other mega city, or let's say in South Africa. So you are right in saying in the bigger cities, we lose our humanity. The environment has hardened us. Instead of us changing this world and making it better with the humanity that God gave to us, we have allowed the environment to kill that humanity within us, and we've become so selfish that it's true that we don't even care about the next person, and that's very sad.
So that led me to conclude that though we were created with humanity in us, with the feelings and emotions from God, not to take care of only ourselves, but to extend to others, now we are in a moment that we have to relearn how to be human. We have to learn certain feelings and emotions so that we can continue preserving humanity in the world. Because less days, more days, we are going to be robots with heart and flesh. So let us see some of these feelings we were born with, and little by little we have lost, and today, not only you but us, we aim to look at it with different eyes and relearn, readapt, so that we can be humans again according to what God has purposed us to be. So I would start saying with love and compassion. Now you have to teach a child, you have to love your mother, because that natural love and respect is no longer there. We have to teach compassion for the others, not for the sake of what I can profit out of that situation, but for the simple fact that I see her in a situation and without judgment, I see her pain, and that pain becomes my pain as well. We spoke vastly about that in our campaign against violence. Where is the compassion when you see a neighbor abusing a child? God has shown to you. You say it's none of my business, but God has shown to you. And you put a blind eye. You don't feel the pain of that child. You don't feel the pain of that woman. And you let it happen. That is compassion. Of course, you're not going to expose yourself. You're not going to get a knife. You're not going to get a fire gun and take the matters into your hands. But there must be something you can do. But nowadays, people don't. They live their lives. They don't even know the name of the neighbor, let alone if the neighbor needs something. They don't even know how the sister, the brother, the siblings are staying, because people are becoming selfish. They are no longer compassionate about the suffering, the needs, the pain of others. And what brought us to salvation? It is the love of God and the compassion of God for our souls. So love and compassion are feelings that in principle we were born with, but we are not exercising, we're not developing.
The second one, I think, would be empathy. And it's something that we rarely see nowadays, because with empathy, it's being able to understand where the other person is coming from and think of yourself. Had you been in that position, what would you need? And today, I think it's something that, because humanity has grown so cold, it's something that when we were young, we learned from home. So when you have a sibling maybe that is not doing well, or maybe they're a bit slow, or they have some sort of disability, you would see parents teaching the other sibling how to help that child. But nowadays, it's more like, no, you are okay, you are my star, and this one, is not okay. And we see it so sadly whereby when you're walking in the street and there's a blind person about to walk into a wall or something, people won't stop that person. Instead, I think one day I heard someone saying, hey, watch where you're going. And in my mind, I was like, he's holding a cane. He's wearing like dark sunglasses. Obviously, he's blind. However, today, because people don't want to be empathetic and think, what if that could be you? Wouldn't you want someone to help you just to cross the road, or someone to just offer you maybe a helping hand? Someone falls down, or you see someone carrying heavy things. Today it's more like, oh, why did she buy so many things? Like, what was she thinking? However, with that, we pass it down to our children as well, because often at times when you are doing that and saying that comment, the young one is very impressionable. They are learning that and they take it to school. And it makes me wonder if this is the reason today we have so much violence even among young kids, whereby they push each other, they fight, they bully each other. And you ask yourself, but where does that come from? Because when you think of being a child, there's a lot of innocence, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of caring. When one has food and the other one doesn't, in the past we would see them sharing their
It's
lunch.
natural to share.
Yes, it's natural. And because people don't empathize with each other today, that's why today we even have on social media studies that people are doing, whereby the person will go and say to a person on the street like, hey, I'm short of money for this and this and that. Can you help me? And quite often they get no's. And when someone finally says yes, they get rewarded and given money. Okay, when I first looked at it, it was like, oh, okay. But I was thinking, now is humanity going to be helping people because they are hoping it's a social experiment? Someone is recording it somewhere. And though I give you 1 rand, you're going to give me 100 rand because I'm helping you. So I think that's how horrible and that's how far we have gone, that we need to have social experiments that are showing how far we are and how great we can actually come back to being that. And quite often it's people, the ones that reject and don't want to offer help are those that have condition. And the homeless will be the ones that are empathetic with a person that is well dressed, and they'll say, no, I don't have money, but I have this little sandwich. You can have that. And I think that's to show how sometimes the more we acquire things, that also makes us more cold and less empathetic with others, because you measure yourself like, if I can do it, why can't you get up and go and work?
I would say that there is a misperception about being empathizing with people. Empathy is not pity. Pity, you just feel. When you empathize, you feel the pain, but you are pushed to do something about it. So when you see, for instance, a blind person on the streets struggling, and you empathize, immediately after you're going to take action, you're going to offer help. If you just feel pity, that is not a good feeling. It will not bring humanity. It will make you to feel good about yourself. Oh, I feel pity on that situation. Look how nice I am. But actually, the element of action is what is going to make you really humane.
In nowadays, to find people being human is being so difficult. When sometimes you offer help, they get angry. So if you offer the help sometimes, would you like to sit here? What you are saying? You are calling me old? So you see how hard people, they are becoming in their heart, and they don't want really to reconnect, to reconcile with God. And there is a difference of helping and to be helpful. I was thinking, when you are going to help someone, normally that person requests your help. But when you are helpful, you perceive, Precious, maybe today, she's not looking, it's too much of us women, to see things beyond, Precious doesn't look so well today. What about to help her without even she asking my help? That is to be helpful. And in nowadays, people, they are despising, they become so cold with their own business, with their lives, that they despise sometimes when they really need help. They really need help. It kind of to receive help shows that I'm weak sometimes. In their minds, they think I'm proud, and why Precious wants to help me? Does she think I need her? But in fact, we need each other always. So that is how God created us. We depend in a certain extent of each other to offer us help. We cannot be living alone.
And when we say, do you need help? I'm giving you the option to say no, thank you, because you don't want to impose, you don't want to create a problem, to be a burden. But when I am helpful, I don't need you to ask me. I will do something out of my own gratitude, out of my own perception. And that is the difference. Very well mentioned. There are people who still help, but very few are those who are helpful.
Another one is to be present. This is a quality that only us humans have, to make a person feel special, to make a person feel seen and feel heard for who they are. You see a person for who they are and not what they can give you. Nowadays, I think with social media, it has destroyed the little bit of humanity that we have. And the pandemic just swiped everything away. Because now, when a person stands next to you, you sort of like, why are you so close?
What do you
Stand
want?
back. You know, when we talk to people, there has to be a distance, because, you know, I don't want her to pass what she has to me. So the pandemic just took the little bit of humanity that was left. And now we cannot even be present with our families. We cannot be present at work. We cannot be present anywhere because we are just focused on ourselves. When Samara was speaking about being helpful, a lot of people are not helpful because they are focused on themselves. And if you are not helpful, you cannot be present. The human beings, we have this ability to communicate, to hear what the other person is saying, even though the person is not using a lot of words, you know, but you are able to perceive, okay, this is what Boitumelo needs. She might not be putting it exactly into, proper words, but because I am present, I am able to feel what she's feeling. I'm able to look into her eyes. I'm able to hear what she's saying. And we have the gift of language, which is to speak to each other, which other species do not have. So being present is a quality that only us as human beings can give to somebody else. When you are present, you make somebody else feel special. You make somebody else feel like they're the only person in the world. And, you know, with now so many distractions around, it is very important that we do that to someone else, because maybe in their house, maybe in their marriage, they are not being seen. The husband is not present. The mother is not present. But you, as a sister, as a teacher, as a neighbor, you are able to be present and make that child feel special, make that child feel like he's the only person in the world and you care about them. So being present is one of the things that we can do to restore our humanity.
And I think one of the best actions that you could take to make yourself present is put your cell phone away. Isn't that disturbing if your child is trying to talk to you and you say, yes, I'm going to talk to you now. Let me see. You are there physically, but you're not present. They cannot feel the love. They cannot feel the attention that they deserve. So put your cell phone away and give another person time. I see you, I hear you, in the old concept, not like we explore recently. And make yourself available. That is humane. We were not born with a cell phone, by the way.
I was also thinking, because some will say, no, I don't use my cell phone, but mentally you're not present. Whereby when someone is talking and then they ask you, so what do you have to say? And then the person's like, oh, sorry, like I wasn't here.
We have an expression, what is it? You zone out.
Yeah, you zone out. And a lot of people zone out nowadays. And people can tell that you are there. But then because of today's worry and the hustle, the bustle, the wanting to get this and the rush that we're in, oftentimes, even on dinner tables, you can see people sitting, but they can't wait like for the last person to finish their meal. Inside, you're already impatient, like
It's
can
taking
you,
long. Can you
like,
eat a
yeah,
bit
like, can
faster?
you chew faster and something like that? But we forget that those are the things that actually bring us and let us connect as human beings. Because many times, as Silmara was saying about being helpful, and Tammy touched on it, when someone is going through something hard, nowadays you hear people saying, get over it. I think that is the word of the century, like, get over it. Like, why are you still there? Like, everybody has moved on, but you don't sit to understand what really happened with that individual. And it is very easy for us to say, get on with it, because we're not there mentally. And it's very sad to see that this is the reason many relationships fall apart. Friendships, work relationships, partnerships, and businesses, because the person is no longer there. Though they are there, you hear today in the business world where you have silent partners. What is a silent partner? The person is not really there for the decision making. They are just there to get the check at the end of the month or at the end of the year. And I fear that that concept has come into now human relationships, whereby, Seal, I'm here. I'm your friend. Nah? When you need me, you know where to find me. You'll hear people that say that. But then when you think of it, how will you even know that I need you? So I have to call you. And when we think of someone that's going through a hard moment, and I'm thinking maybe this is why people are caught by surprise when someone takes their lives. It is because we were not there present to see the changes that were taking place around that person's life. I remember of one case of someone that I read of, that the person started giving things away. She gave away everything. She was donating to charities and all of those things. Then she started withdrawing herself. And on the day, she made sure that her business schedule was cleared. Everything was set to the T. And when everyone got the news late that night that she was found dead, everybody was shocked, like, oh my goodness, but we could have seen this, we could have seen that. But I think it's because sometimes we as humanity have lost that touch. Yes, there are those special cases that no one will know, but then sometimes there is a hint that they are throwing in there. But because of this thing that we're saying of, when you need me, you know, you can call me. Just a call, like just to say, hi, I was thinking about you. How's everything? That means a lot to a person. But with today's hustle and bustle, instead of a mom sitting down and asking the daughter, how was school? She instead asks it on the phone or in a rush, like in the car driving, like, so how was school? So as a child is trying to tell you, you're already focusing on the next driver that's about to come into your lane. So that puts off that child. And they learn to do that as well with schools, in school. So then when she sees her friend crying, it's like, why are you crying? Like, toughen up, you're weak. And it's not a weakness. And in the business world, as Silmara was talking about being helpful, today people will say, why is she being helpful? Is she coming for my job? Like, is she coming for my position? Like, what is your motive? And I think that's what's also taking away, I think, the humanity, our insecurities as well.
Yeah.
The other thing is kindness. And kindness it doesn't cost anything to be kind. I read this a long time ago. I don't remember where. And it's something that I think it's true. And most of the things that we mentioned, they don't cost anything. Being helpful doesn't cost money. Being compassionate and having love, being present. I think it was Nelson Mandela who said the greatest gift that you can give is your time. Not money, not anything else. The greatest gift is time. So when we are not kind, we hurt people. We shut doors for other people. We break people down without even knowing, because as it was mentioned, we don't always know what is going on in someone's life. But kindness really go a long way. I think all the characteristics that we mentioned, they really go a long way to make or break a person. To, you can make someone's day. On Saturday, I was in a store and there's a lady who came in. I think she was working with her partner. I don't know this lady. But when I moved out of the way for her, she had this huge smile on her face and she was like, hi, thank you. And I said to her, my goodness, like, you are so nice. Like, why are you so nice? I literally said to her that her smile was like a hug. I don't know this person. And the guy that she was with looked at me and said, she really is nice. And I had not seen that in a very long time. I was taken by surprise because I even asked her, why are you so nice? Because we're not used to that nowadays. So kindness is something that, can really make someone's day. It can really make them stop focusing on the worries that they have in their own lives, to realize that there are other people. And the nice thing about kindness and many of these characteristics, when we receive from other people, they inspire us to give to others. It's not something that, you just keep. Some people will say, no, I'm this way because people are horrible in the world. But the opposite is also true. If you can start being kind to other people, they will be kind to others. And that kindness will come back to you. It's a chain of reaction. So I think we should always remember it costs us absolutely nothing to be kind. But we actually use more energy to be mean. You have to really use much more of your energy to tell someone off, to be mean to them, to shout and scream. But if you can just be kind and nice to people, it actually costs you absolutely nothing.
And I think as well, it starts from when we were kids. I remember when my mom would buy me stationery in the beginning of the year. Like, it was so long ago, but it was that notion of do not share this with anyone at school because they will steal it. And this stationery has to last you until the end of the year. If you lose anything, then you are in big trouble. So that's where we learn not to even share. And sometimes you see a child at school who's hungry and you have an extra sandwich. But again, you are afraid to share because you don't even know, like, what will that person think? Will she think that I'm looking down on her? So it starts as well from being kids, telling your kids, do not share this with anyone, or do not take food from anyone because you don't know what's in there. So that's how we lose our humanity from kids, instead of building them up with that humanity to share. Okay, Tammy, if a child in your class does not have a pen, take this extra pen, make sure that you bring it back so that you can borrow to somebody else. But it's like, do not share with anyone, do not give this to anyone, because if it gets lost, you will be in trouble. So now I'm in trouble for being kind. I'm in trouble for helping somebody else. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to keep my things. I'm not going to share with anyone because I don't want to get into trouble with my mom.
Have you realized, as we spoke here, or maybe it was only my own perception, that in every example we gave, somehow selfishness was the determining point? Not to love, not to be compassionate, not to give, not to offer help. Because me comes first. So if me comes first, I'm not going to think about someone else. Now my question is, do you really think that God has created us, human beings, to be selfish? Just after our break, we are going to go deep into the dynamics of feelings and emotions, because we have extremes. As Christians, we learn we have to have intelligent faith, hate your feelings. Is it so? You need to be with us, and just after our break, we are going to explore it in details, and I'm sure it will help you. It will bring clarity to the challenge between the heart and the mind.
Still can find the answer anywhere, biting off the lie that no one cares. Anyone who's out there losing hope, feeling you're forsaken and alone, clinging to the last strands of your rope. May God give you eyes to see still greater choosing to believe is in control. May God give you eyes to see He's still greater, courage to rise and believe He is able. May God be your peace in the fight you're walking through. This is my prayer now. This is my prayer. May God give you eyes to see He's still greater, courage to rise and believe He is able. May God be your peace in the fight you're walking through. This is my prayer now. This is my prayer for you.
Welcome back. We were talking about how can we live without the feelings that God has given to us. He has created us with some feelings that come from Him. Simple examples.
So how can you be a mother if you are not going to display your love? So in nowadays, the mothers, they don't have time for the kids and they have a good excuse. No, but I'm working, I'm providing. But the most important thing that the child needs is attention, is to be present. And we see it with our kids in the church. When we sit down to talk to them, they have a lot of to say. Even if they are 5, 6 years old, it's an attention.
They are angry, they are revolted.
Yeah, we give them the attention that most of the time they don't have at home because the mother is very busy, the parents. Okay, we understand you need to provide, but the little time that you have when you come back, show your love and show your appreciation, and that your child will really enjoy that moment together.
The other one is, how do we maintain relationships? It can be family relationships, it can be work relationships, intimate relationships. If we don't have that kindness, the humanity coming in, you're not kind, you're not helpful, you're not present, those relationships will die, because in a marriage, there's no way that you can have a marriage where, okay, no, your food is there, but you, even if you are together physically, if you're not putting your phones down, if you're not present to speak, to connect, that marriage, you grow apart or you live different lives in the same home, and that marriage is not going to thrive. Friendships that are not maintained, how do you, when someone says, oh, so-and-so is my best friend, I always say to the young people, it's because what do? You speak to that person, you tell them what's happening in your own life. And that is how you maintain and nurture that relationship. So without the feeling of connecting with each other, that love, that compassion, that empathy for your friend, what they're going through, being helpful for them, all of those things are feelings that are necessary for any relationship to grow.
And again, I think patience as well. When you have that humanity in you, you are able to be patient with somebody else because you understand that I was once maybe that kind of person. I didn't change overnight. I also have my own mistakes. So if somebody else is taking time to change, or maybe you're not being that understanding, you are able to say, you know what, I'll be patient with you. And while I'm being patient, of course, I'm being helpful. I'm talking to you. I'm guiding you. I'm praying for you. But being patient as well, it's a feeling that we can have that God has put into us. But now we are so impatient because there is no time. We think that, you know what, I'm not going to deal with you now. I have to be somewhere else now. We don't have that patience to deal with other people, to help other people as well.
And God has created us with patience. We had to wait for 9 months to be born, and the mother had to wait for 9 months to see us being born.
And I think another perfect example that we can see is that with animals. I have a small puppy, and I was just sharing with the group of how empathetic he is sometimes. though I know that he runs on instinct. And that's something that human beings have drifted away from the way God created us with these feelings. We have actually chosen to say, no, we don't want that, because we associate it with a sign of being weak, or we're going to get taken advantage of. So with my little puppy, he will know, for example, like when I'm not feeling well, I will see him stopping whatever it is that he's doing and just being there by my side. He's not doing much. He can't communicate with me. He can't talk. As Tammy said, we can speak. But then his gestures show that he's actually there. When someone maybe is coming home, you can see his excitement, like that greeting that you get. However, nowadays, when you walk into a room, people are so busy with themselves that they don't even notice that you have walked in. And then after maybe 15 minutes, they're like, oh, I didn't see you, you arrived. But then when we look at animals, the way they work as teams as well. Like we've all seen videos of elephants when they cross the road. They will not, like, if they see that there's one that's trailing behind, they would rather slow down their pace in order for that one to catch up, and then they pass. And I think one of the most amazing ones that I saw was one elephant, after the whole group had passed, he turned and looked at the human and lifted up his trunk as a sign of thank you. And today we don't get thank yous. Like, for you to get thank you nowadays, it's shocking. Like,
You have to ask for it.
Yes, like
why don't you say thank you?
So that's to show how we're actually drifting away from that, because saying thank you is actually heartwarming for that person, because they get to realize, like, wow, I've actually done something good for the next person. So I think we are fighting. We've become so desensitized from what we were created to be and who we were created to be, and the feelings that actually have purpose, because God would have not put these feelings in us if they were not for a purpose, and he would never intentionally put anything bad in us. But because we are drifting away from him, we are actually now seeing other species looking more human than we as humanity.
And that is our point of reflection of today. We are changing from the nature that God has created us. The animals are not refuting their instincts. They live as God has purposed them to live. But we are now fighting every emotion and every feeling as if it is something bad. So now tell me, how can we love God if we don't understand what love is all about? How can we be faithful to God if we don't have that sense of faithfulness in us? And that is one of the biggest doubts we find in Christians today. We talk about intelligent faith in opposition to emotional faith. And I know you are there questioning, but what I learned is that I have to have intelligent faith. So to clarify that, let us read together Galatians that talks about the fruit of the Spirit. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. Think about love. Think about kindness. Think about self-control. Are they tangible? Can you hold and say, now I have this that is called self-control? You cannot. They are feelings. They are emotions that come from God, that is given back to us as human beings who disconnected from Him, so that we can do what He has assigned us to do, so that we can develop the roles He has given us to develop as mothers, as wives, as Christians, and moreover, as children of God. When we struggle about what is the right emotions and feelings, the emotions are wrong when they are leading us to a wrong direction. When our emotions push us even to do things that are against God. Let me give you an example. That hunk guy that you want to date, that you want to marry, who does not believe in God, who is not faithful to you, for the sake of that fake love, you are going to renounce the faithfulness and love to God. So in that moment, the feeling, the emotion will trap you in a situation, because that feeling and emotion will lead you to do something that even goes against the principles of God. So from being too emotional, now we are aiming to being someone who is robotic and cold, and we justify. This is intelligent faith. So you don't look at your husband with respect anymore. You tell him he has evil spirits, and you say, because I have intelligent faith. Where is the intelligence when you lost compassion, when you don't empathize, when you don't understand your husband, your mother, those who play a role in your life, and you give the justification, this is intelligent faith. The Holy Spirit came to bring back to each one of us the feelings that come from God for a purpose designed by Him, so that we do what He needs us to do to represent Him here. So we have kindness. How can we save souls if we don't feel their pain, if we don't see they are lost? So we need empathy, we need kindness, we need gentleness, we need the love, we need faithfulness. And when we aim to lose it for the sake of intelligent faith, not understanding what it is intelligent faith, we are becoming cold. We are losing our humanity given by God for us. Intelligent faith is when I can tame my feelings to serve God. So the Holy Spirit comes upon us, and He brings to us the fruit of the Spirit. All these feelings that we cannot touch, but they serve a purpose. And when we uphold these feelings in our relationships with others, in our relationship with God, this is intelligent faith. So maybe you have been enslaved of saying, I was too emotional. Now I don't cry. How about compassion? How about joy? How about delighting in yourself in the presence of God? You can't, because now you have closed the door to any feeling in the name of the wrong perception of intelligent faith. Intelligent faith is when you can channel the feelings that God has given to us, that they are brought back to us with a new nature given by the Holy Spirit, to use, to serve God, and to reach out to others. If I close the door to love, I won't love God, and I won't love those around me. If I close the door to joy, I will be someone who will speak about God, but people will see no God in me. I will be someone sour. So intelligent faith comes when we know that through the Holy Spirit there is balance. And these feelings, they are used for what is good, for what is going to bring honor to the name of God. So I hope I brought to you a new dimension of faith. With God, there is no 0, no 100. There is always middle term, because the Holy Spirit brings balance to us. God has created us with those feelings. We have misused them. They brought us into trouble. When we receive the Spirit of God, now we receive back all those feelings in the right proportion, with a proper understanding of how to use them. So we cannot just brush off any feeling and say, that's from the devil. Because without the love, I don't love God, I don't love myself, and I don't love those who are around me. Silmara, would you pray that today we reconnect with the Creator and with the Spirit of God, with what we have been desensitizing, and we first reconcile with ourselves. And we agree, I have lost humanity. And that humanity doesn't come out of pity. It comes out of God's heart to my heart. Shall we pray?
My dear Lord, in the name of Jesus, we thank you, my Father, because each and every time you try to bring us back to the original plan that you have made for us. So in this special holiday where reconciliation is the name of this day, maybe we have viewers that right now, they don't want, my Father, to reconcile with someone from their house. They say to themselves that they have reasons for what they are feeling. But in fact, my God, you gave us the willingness to give to others what sometimes we don't receive back. And that is being human, when you love and you don't expect to be loved back. Jesus did that on the way when he met a blind man. He didn't wait the blind man to ask him, but he asked what that blind man needed. So the way that you have created us is to give. And when we give, my God, we come back to reconnect to the original plan that you have created us. So give this person the ability to remember right now days, moments, words that she have shared with people when she did not display love and the care of what we have receiving from you each and every time. Even if we don't know how to give you back, sometimes you never stop to give to us and to show what should be done. So help this person, my God, to reconcile with you, with herself, with everyone around them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So from today on, understanding that if you have the Spirit of God, humanity is back in your life. Just start exercising. Let us relearn, reconnect to the purpose that God has given us. If you don't have the Spirit of God, seek, and He will pour upon you those feelings that will build your life. We are now heading to the last 2 weeks of the year 2022. You have spent every Friday with us, afternoon, where values are treasured, woman-to-woman show. What we have prepared for you for these last 2 shows of the year is what you're always curious about. Backstages, experiences, surprises and surprises. And of course, we have been telling you that when we prepare a show, there is always a wow moment for us. There is always something that God teaches us. We came here to share ideas, opinions, to discuss, to reflect about a topic, and we end up learning so much more. So we are going to talk about our own experiences, which were the topics of the year that made us to reset our minds, to think in another direction, to change behaviors. And we have been asking for your contribution. You're going to find out personally to the co-hosts of Woman to Woman what has changed through the show during this year. And then we have the last show of 2022. But again, curiosity will have to keep you going. And you will need to watch our show next week to find out what's coming next for the last Friday of 2022. Until then, God bless you all. Bye-bye.
That's right. You asked and we finally answered. Woman to Woman will be having a 2-part special, packed with every kind of incredible moment you can think of. From the bloopers to the laughters and everything in between. And the best part? You will be our special guest sharing with us what your favorite show and moments were of 2022. Are you ready for this? See you this Friday at 3 p.m.